All right, so welcome everybody. Today I'm going to introduce you to Taylor. He is from Minnesota, and he had contacted me about 6 weeks ago about their program called eTrac, and I showed it to a few of the counselors a few weeks back, and they thought it was really interesting for some of our students. So I wanted to make it available to all the counselors statewide. This morning I passed along instructions on how to put it together an authorization, how to request things, and we'll go over that here in a little bit, but I'll turn it over to Taylor and let him get started.
Thanks so much, Katie, and hello to everyone. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to connect with all of you and share a little bit more about eTrac. A little about me. My name is Taylor McLaughlin. I live in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I manage an employment program for a CRP here in Minnesota. The organization I work for is called MSS. So we actually provide employment services and work with our state VR counselors on a regular basis to provide those services to the people here in Minnesota. We are also, MSS is the organization that created eTrac. We developed it about 6 years ago. We saw that there was really just a need for a software solution for people with disabilities to help them learn more about the employment process and help them in their journey through finding employment. So today I'm here to take you on a little bit of a tour of eTrac, show you how it works, show you some of the content as well, and just give you a general sense of how things run. There'll be a lot of information that I throw at you today. You know, I encourage you to take notes if you would like, but be aware that we do have a couple of documents that we share with everyone when they first start using eTrac. The first document that we share is called the eTrac Facilitators Guide. It's about 30 pages worth of content that walks you through all 6 courses of this program that we have. It gives you suggestions on how to facilitate each of the different pieces of the courses, how you can do it in a group, how you can do it individually, some different ways that you can blend those 2 styles together. And it just kind of walks you through step by step how you would go about teaching this course to someone. So that will be built into some of what I send you. Another document that I will share with you is tips for navigating the course, because it takes a little getting used to. It's pretty user friendly, but it's just helpful to have that document that shows you what all of the different pieces of the course are when you're in there navigating, working through it yourself, or working through it with the people that you're serving. So I'm going to share up. Katie, or someone able to grant me the ability to share my screen? While we work on that, before we dive in, does anyone have any immediate questions? I know some of you have had the chance to review the content a little bit, and for many of you, this is all brand new. Does anyone have anything that comes to mind before we get started?
Shayna, are you able to let him share? I'm not seeing that on my end.
All right, looks like we're good there. All right, hopefully what you're seeing is this eTrac website and not my calendar. Someone give me a thumbs up. Yep, awesome. Perfect. Okay, so when you go to the website, which I'll provide the link for you, this is the screen you're going to see. So step 1 is logging in. Logins are pretty basic. We just use the first letter of your first name and then your full last name. And then when your account is first set up, you'll be assigned a generic password, and then you'll have the opportunity to reset that password once you first log in. So logging in initially, what I see is 80% the same as what you see since I'm an administrator, but I'm going to go ahead and switch my role to that of a teacher, and that will give you a more realistic view of what your screens will look like when you're doing this. So just a quick overview of this initial navigation pane. In the top left corner here, we have what is called the hamburger button or hamburger menu, and yes, that is the technical term for this. and this just toggles on and off this navigation bar here. A few things here, the dashboard, all the dashboard offers you is an alternative view to the courses that you're enrolled in. Mine's a little overwhelming because I'm enrolled in pretty much every course that we have available, but that's just a separate view of what that looks like. The calendar is a function that's built into Moodle. A point to know is eTrac is a software that we've created, and Moodle is the website that we use to host it. So we manage the Moodle site, but this is something that's used throughout the world in colleges and in K-12 institutions to provide online learning content. So we've embedded our software into their website. So the calendar function is not something that we use much for eTrac. It just exists as a function of Moodle. Private files here is where you or someone you're working with can store information. Maybe they've created a resume, or maybe they're working on one of the activities. You can store that here on Moodle, and that will stay there in that private files section. My eTrac courses, it doesn't list all of mine because there's too many to list, but it gives you a list of the courses that you're enrolled in. And the site administration thing is something you will not see. That's something that only I see on my end. The main section here shows you all of the courses that you're enrolled in. Again, I have a lot of them. You'll only see 6 because there's 6 courses in each instance of eTrac. To the right over here, you'll see a similar navigation pane that just takes you through all of the different courses that you're enrolled in as well. And we actually have a separate what we call silo set up for your team. So the South Dakota VRS silo. So I'll show you what that looks like here. So this will be what you will see when you log in, is each of these 6 courses, and it's just specific to South Dakota VRS. So there's no other users or no other students enrolled in this. It's only going to be your staff and the people that you're working with who are enrolled in these 6 courses. So we're going to enter course 1 here. Course 1 here, the student's view and the teacher's view are going to be pretty much the same. What you'll have here, you'll see a few items have been added to this hamburger menu. Participants, there's nobody enrolled, so you're not going to see anything right now, but this will show a full list of everyone that's enrolled in the South Dakota eTrac course. And a way that we can arrange it is in groups as well. So if you're working with 20 people who are using eTrac, you could theoretically only have access to the grades and the information for those people who are enrolled under your name or in your group. Grades similar, there's nothing to see there because we don't have anyone enrolled yet, but this is going to list all of the participants either for all of you collectively as a whole or for the individual groups that we set up for you. It'll show their names, email addresses, institutions, and then it'll show the grades for all of the different activities that are on here. Since no one's done anything, they're all showing zeros right now. But this is where you can go to check the grades for any people that you're working with in eTrac. And then you've still got all of these buttons have remained unchanged. So this is the meat of the course right here. It's got this little welcome message. It tells you of the 3 activities that you have to go through in order to access the course. I'll show you some of those different pieces here. The first one is a pre-assessment. So the pre-assessment is 10 questions that test a person's understanding of the general content before they dive into the course. Everyone is required to complete the pre-assessment before you can start in on the course. Most successful job searches include, and then you have a multiple choice question here. Some of them will be true, false. You go through all 10 questions, you submit it, at the end it's going to give you a pretty basic score of 0 to 10 out of 10. And that will show up in the grade book once that's been completed. The next section here is the e-learning course 1. So we have 2 versions of this. It's set up. HTML5 is the content-rich version that does animations in videos, in pictures, and those sorts of things, and that's generally what most people use. But we also have a text-based version that can be used for people who are using screen readers, braille displays, or if you wanted something that was just a little bit less intense and in your face. And that's literally just the entire content in a text format, all in words. It's all the same stuff, it just takes out some of that animation and some of those videos. So most people are going to use the HTML5 version, but just note that you should use typically one or the other for each of these. Once you've gone through that course, you'll get a 10-question post-assessment as well. And depending on which one you go through, you'll have the ability to either do the HTML5, the more content-rich one, or the text-based version. It's the same questions, it's just the way that the system scores them. It's good to have someone either working through one set or working through the other. And that's similar to the pre-assessment where it's the 10 questions scored 1 through 10 or 0 through 10 on what you've gotten right. This gives you the opportunity to see what students have gained from this, what they've learned, and maybe areas that you might want to go back and focus on a little bit more going through the program with them. This final piece down here is what we call the facilitators version. So this is something that the students will not see or not have access to, but you as teachers in this course will have access to. So if you were to enter this e-learning HTML5 version, what you get is a course that you have to go through step by step from start to finish. You can't skip ahead, you can't jump around, you can't just, start it up, skip right to the end and say, oh, look, I did this course. You actually have to work through all of the content in order to receive a grade for that course. The grade in this instance is either you completed it or you didn't. There's not scores necessarily, either you've gone through the content or you haven't. The facilitators version you use on your end if you would like to take a student to just a section, or maybe you're working with a group of students and you want to work only on interview skills that day, or you want to work only on resumes that day. That allows you to freely navigate throughout the course to get to any point within the course that you want without having to have completed it first. Once a student has completed an entire course, they are also able to navigate freely throughout it, but you can't do it unless, or you can't access the content unless you've already done it before, if that makes sense. And this is all explained in the tips and tricks guide that we give you for doing it, so there's more information on that as well. Anyone have any questions so far? Feel free to stop me at any point in time if you have any questions as things come up, and we'll also have time at the end to answer questions as well. So now we're going to dive into the content a little bit more. For those who were on the first call, you may see some things you've seen before, but for a lot of you, this will be new information. So we're going to use the facilitators version so we can jump around a little bit and see some different things. Someone had a question. We wouldn't be able to access the facilitator format if the HTML5 isn't complete. So as teachers, you always have access to that facilitators version no matter what. That's always there. It's your role as a teacher versus your role as a student. Anyone who's assigned the student role cannot see that, but anyone who's assigned the teacher's role can see that and access it no matter what has or has not been done before. But that is a good question. I'm going to get the audio going here. All right. And once this fires up, I'll need someone to give me a thumbs up that they're able to hear it as well. Let's do just a brief tour of the actual course itself. So similar to how you had in Moodle, you've got this hamburger menu, and this accesses this section on the left called My Bus Route. So here you've got My Bus Route, which walks you through what we call modules. So the modules are the broader course categories within each course. So the first module in course 1 is called Getting Started. Second module in course 1 is called Choosing a Career. Third module in course 1 is called Exploring Types of Jobs. And within each of those modules, you'll have different sections of content that you can go through from step to step in order to access the content. That can be collapsed at any point in time. Over here on the far right, you've got the My Resources section. As you'll see a little bit more as we get into this, the course often refers to either some assignments that we've built into the course or outside websites and resources that you can use as well. So that's all located in one area if you needed to get back to it or pick out just that one piece of information for working with someone or a group of people. So all of your assignments are here, all of your exercises are here. We've got some different videos that are interspersed throughout the course. You can find those here. And then links to outside resources like Career One Stop or My Next Move Those are all gathered here in case you wanted to access them outside of the normal lineage of the course. For navigation, you got volume, pretty basic up and down, closed captioning. All of the content is completely captioned. Play or pause. This just restarts the current slide you're on, and next will navigate to the next slide. So we're going to dive into the content a little bit and explore from there.
Welcome to eTrac. eTrac is a set of 6 courses. The first 5 courses cover the job search process. They are Course 1, Exploring a Career, Course 2, Filling out the Paperwork, Course 3, Starting your Job Search, Course 4, Interviewing for a Job, Course 5, Evaluating and Accepting a Job Offer. Course 6, Keeping a Job, covers things you need to know to be successful in a job after you've been hired. Before you get started, you'll need to choose a character to represent you in this course. You'll also need to enter your name so we know who you are. Click the profile button at the bottom of the screen, then follow the instructions. Please do this now.
So this is something that you will do throughout each of the 6 courses. You go to My Profile, you enter a name, and you choose an avatar to represent you. And the avatar is someone who will follow along through the animations as that person that you've chosen to represent you.
Great job! Now, let's get started. In this course,
what you learn is it's a piece that we have in all 6 of these courses, and it gives a nice overview of what you're going to learn, aptly named throughout that course. So just a general overview of what that entire course will be about.
You'll begin your job search by exploring your personal interests and skills, as well as the careers and types of jobs that might appeal to you. In Module 1, you'll learn why people work, things employers look for when hiring an employee, an overview of a typical job search process, and the difference between a job and a career. Click the mailbox for Apartment 6A to retrieve 2 envelopes.
So one of the engaging things about the way that this is structured is that you can't just sit back and let it play. You always have to be interacting with the content, with the software. You always have to be clicking, typing things in, doing something to move the process along. So you don't just press play and sit there and let it teach you. You have to actually engage in the process.
A job is a set of specific tasks that an employer pays another person to complete. Some workers are paid for each hour that they work. Others are paid a set amount, a salary, every week, 2 weeks, or monthly. Some jobs are unpaid. These are called volunteer jobs and can be a good way to build your skills and gain experience. Volunteer jobs should be treated with the same respect as paid work. People work for different reasons. Earning money tops the list. After all, you need to pay for things like housing, food, transportation, and entertainment. People also work to be independent, have access to employment benefits like health care, meet new people and be part of a social group, learn new skills, expand their skills, use their skills in new ways, contribute to the community, feel productive, and stay active. Do you know why you want to work? Understanding your reasons for working will help you to decide what you want to do and where you want to work.
Part of what our Facilitators Guide lays out for you is different points during the course when you can engage with people as you're working through the content. You know, you might have some situations where you ask someone to take eTrac and just work on it by themselves, and there might be other situations where you're working with someone or a group of people to get through the content. And something that you learn pretty quickly in going through it is there's just natural breaks in order to facilitate some feedback from the person or people that you're working with. So in this instance, I always like to engage someone in a conversation about why they're interested in working. You know, for an individual, it's just asking those questions. For a group, it's getting feedback from different people and sharing those ideas with the group. And it works really well in a group dynamic too, because people will sort of glob onto what others are saying and use that to motivate some of their answers as well.
All employers typically look for employees who, number one, are honest. This means being truthful in what you say and in what you do. Number two, can do the work. Employers want to hire someone who can do the tasks the job requires. This doesn't mean they only hire people who have already done a job or task before. Employers also are looking for employees who can learn to do the work and have the right education, skills, experience, and attitude. Number three, work hard and do quality work. Employers want to hire a person who is willing to complete all of the job's tasks, even the ones the person doesn't like to do. Number four, are flexible and willing to learn new things. Most employers have their own way of doing things. While they don't expect a new employee to know how to do a job perfectly the first day, they do expect the employee to be willing to learn new things or new ways of doing things. Number five, are reliable. Employers want to hire employees who show up when they're scheduled to work, arrive on time, and are ready to work. Number six, get along with others and have a positive attitude. Teamwork is part of almost every job. Employers want employees who will work well with coworkers, supervisors, and customers. Excellent. Now let's examine the typical job search process. Most job searches follow the same steps. Start by clicking on the elevator button to go to the first floor.
With the interactive part of this too, I think you'll find what we find is we have people with all levels of experience with technology. When we were doing this in person, so part of our program is day services for people who aren't necessarily always interested in employment or who need a little bit more support on a daily basis. And some of these people have literally never interacted with technology before. So for some people, you're learning or reinforcing habits like typing and entering things. But for other people, they've never used a mouse to click something before. So it's adaptable to all skill levels to teach people some different skills that are going to be beneficial in their lives and in employment. Something as simple as using a mouse to click on a button can be a new thing for someone.
Phase 1. Exploring a job and career. Learning about jobs and industries that match your interests will help you identify the skills, education, and experiences you'll need to get a job in a career that interests you. Click on the second floor. Phase 2. Filling out the paperwork. You'll need to fill out applications and write resumes and cover letters. You also might need to prepare letters of explanation and gather work samples. Click on the third floor. Phase 3. Starting your job search. There are many ways and places to find jobs. Today, there are many more ways to find job openings, but some things like networking are still very important. Click on the fourth floor. Phase 4. Interviewing for a job. Most employers interview potential employees before making a hiring decision. Click on the fifth floor. Phase 5. Evaluating and accepting a job offer. Not every job is right for every person. When you're offered a job, it's important to make sure it's a good fit. Click on the sixth floor. Phase 6. Keeping the job. Successful employees know what it takes to meet an employer's expectations. Let's hear from some people just like you who have found jobs and careers that interest them. Click Next to continue.
So this next section here is a video. It's a rather long video. We won't go through all of it, but I'd just like to point out everyone in this video is someone that our organization has worked with in the past and served to help them find employment. Some of these people in the video, I think we shot this 5 years ago. Some of these people in the video are actually still employed and receiving services from us, and they were a part of the initial testing of the eTrac program when we were first developing it and rolling it out. But it's good to get that real world feel, those real world examples from people who have actually benefited from services and finding employment. Whoops.
Welcome home. There's no doubt about it. Finding a job is hard work. But for many people, the hardest part is making a commitment to putting themselves out there. Feeling overwhelmed? Well, you're not alone. Click the remote to hear from 5 job seekers who share their experiences, setbacks, and successes to help keep you going while you search.
Doing the job I have now could lead me to something better in my career.
I love the atmosphere. You meet good, solid people who take care of their bodies and live an active lifestyle and healthy lifestyle, and I just love it. They're friendly, and that's all about me. I'm a friendly person, caring person.
It's a very nice job, and I love it, and I enjoy it, but it's something that I always wanted to do.
Like the attitudes that the other co-workers show to help customers find certain things in a store throughout the retail environment. And I'm really happy with what I'm doing right now.
I go above and beyond to make the club look nice and clean. I do things you don't have to do, but that's just who I am. I'm a hard worker.
I wasn't the type of person that had all that skill. Then I went to American Red Cross and got my CPR license and my first aid license. Without this training, I couldn't get what I wanted. If you can go back to school, go back to school.
Working at Midwest Special Services, I learned to work with vulnerable adults, and that was one of the main reasons they wanted to hire me with healthcare services, because a lot of the residents are considered vulnerable adults. So it was because I had the experience and the patience and understanding to work with a variety of different people.
I took what's called a food service aid course, and I went through a work experience program during my last year there, and I received some training through a summer program that I was a part of for 4 summers called Natural Environment Training.
We mainly learned about what we do in a retail environment, like how to greet customers and how to tag things, like tag clothes and with price. So far, I've gone through the first and second levels, and I can't wait to start the third.
So it's a longer video, 16 minutes total, but it's more people sharing their experiences with employment, how they got there, what it is that they do, the support that they received in doing that work.
Each person in the video you just saw works at a job they like. Eventually, they may move on to other jobs so they can gain new skills or earn better pay or benefits. That's how you build a career, one job at a time. Remember, a job is a specific set of tasks that an employer pays you to do. A career is a series of jobs that give you a chance to continue building your skills. It's important to make a plan so your career stays on track. Your career plan should change as your interests, skills, and dreams change. You may need to work at a job that you don't particularly enjoy or want to do in order to earn money, gain work experience, or get a positive reference that will help prove you're a good worker. Your career plan also should include short-term and long-term goals for getting the education or training you need, developing skills, gaining experience, and working in specific jobs within the career you've chosen. Long-term goals. Long-term goals may take several years to achieve. Examples include getting a college degree, getting a license for a skilled trade, and completing CNA training. Short-term goals. Sometimes you have to complete several smaller steps which help you move closer to your long-term goal. These are short-term goals. Examples include completing your GED, getting a driver's license, and learning how to use a specific computer program.
Next, we're going to take a look at an exercise. So this is the format that the course follows, where it'll be some content, some videos, some information, and then it'll be broken up with exercises and activities where you apply some of what you learned.
Joe has set his sights on becoming an auto mechanic at a local garage. He knows that he'll need to finish high school or get a GED diploma, and that he'll need some special training. He's come up with a list of things that he has to do before he's ready to apply for jobs as an auto mechanic. Now he needs your help. Type in a number 1 through 5 in each input box on the left, putting his goals in the correct order, starting with the first thing he needs to do. Then click the Submit button. Pass the auto mechanic certification test. Apply for jobs as an auto mechanic. Pass the GED test. Complete required auto mechanics classes. Register for auto mechanics classes.
Okay, I need a brave volunteer. Someone other than Katie. Who's going to help work through this?
I would say pass the GED first.
Pass the GED first. Okay, what's next? Have to call on someone.
Register for classes.
Okay. Do you want to just take us all the way through the process?
Sure. Complete the classes, pass the mechanics test, and apply for jobs.
Like that? Let's see how we did.
Well done.
Nice work.
Before Joe can find a job working as an auto mechanic, he must 1. Pass the GED test. 2. Register for auto mechanics classes. 3. Complete required auto mechanics classes. 4. Pass the auto mechanics certification test. And 5. Apply for jobs as an auto mechanic.
Nice work, everyone. Thanks for that. Someone asked what would happen if they put it in the wrong order. If you put it in the wrong order, instead of saying well done, it will say something along the lines of nice try, but here is the correct answer, and then it'll give you the same list to get the correct answers the next time around. And finally, we have a review. So most of the modules and different points in the course have a little review where they'll wrap up everything that you learned in that particular section or in that part of the course.
Congratulations! You've completed Module 1. In this module, you learned about jobs and careers, how a job and a career are different, why people work, the things that employers look for in an employee, the 6 phases of the typical job search process, and about setting short-term and long-term goals. In Module 2, you'll learn more about choosing a career. Click the Next button to get started.
All right, we're going to jump ahead to just take a look at another portion of the course. Some of these modules have exams. So the exams are not scored in the traditional sense that the rest of the content is scored like the pre and post assessments. The exams are more just to check learning and have conversations within the course. So we're going to skip ahead to the Module 2 exam just so you can see what that looks like.
Take this short multiple choice exam to test your understanding of what you just learned in this module. Answer each question by clicking the best choice, then click the Submit button. Number 1. You can find out the kinds of jobs that you might be interested in by choose the best choice. A, looking at the activities that you like to do in your free time. B, taking an online interest inventory or assessment. C, thinking about past jobs that you liked and understanding why you liked them. D, all of the above.
More audience participation. Brave volunteer to answer this one. You can type it in the chat too if you'd like.
I say D, all the above.
D, all of the above. Thank you, brave participant.
Correct. All of these activities can help you understand what interests you and what jobs you might enjoy. After all, the more interested you are in your work, the more satisfied you'll be. You can start by taking an online interest inventory or assessment, thinking about your past jobs and classes you enjoyed, and considering what you'd like to do in your free time.
So there's 5 questions in each. We'll do one
Number
more.
2, your personality can affect whether or not you will be successful at a particular job. True or false?
Let's see what happens if we get it wrong.
Sorry, that's incorrect. The correct answer is true. Some jobs or careers are better for people with certain personalities. For example, if you like to work with a lot of people in a fast-paced environment, you probably won't be happy working alone on the night shift. You can learn more about your personality and your work style by taking an online personality assessment.
So then you go through the other 3 questions, and at the end it'll give you the total that you got for this particular test. And again, this doesn't actually contribute to the grade as it exists on Moodle. This is just something that you do within the course for your own learning. One final piece we're going to jump to is an assignment.
Assignment, Exploring Careers. Now it's time to put what you've learned to work. Click Download Assignment to download a worksheet to your desktop, then follow the instructions provided.
So you've seen the e-learning content, you've seen some of the videos, you've seen one of the exercises. The assignments are where you really take the information that you're learning and you start to really apply that to the person or group of people that you're working with. So let's take a look at this assignment. All right, so all of these assignments we've got created as Adobe PDFs. So they download or open outside of eTrac. So that means that you can save them and use them and reuse them and work actively on them. So this first assignment has you exploring types of jobs. So to lay out what you need to do, give you the instructions for how to do it. There was a worksheet that we missed in the back called My Discovery Process that takes you through learning some things about yourself, including your interests and your personalities. You take that information and you apply it to choose 2 career paths that could fit with your interests and your personalities that you've selected in that section. So it has you go to the My Next Move website, it has you select 2 career paths from there, and then there's prompts on the screen that walk you through how you can learn more about those particular career paths. And then it also lists some additional resources you could use for doing a similar exercise. Career One Stop, a state reference, your Minnesota CareerWise website, or ONET. And then you gather that information and you put it here in this form. So you type in your career description, you type in the different job tasks involved with that career, examples of some of the job titles of someone who is working in that career, the skills and education that you need in order to get into or advance in that career. And then it asks you to reflect on if there's any skills or education missing that would help you get started in that career. Also walks you through what the salary would be, either monthly or hourly, to give you an annual salary for doing that job. Asks you to draw upon the growth potential within that field, and then make the final decision of, does this career still interest you? Asks you to do that for 2 different career paths, and oftentimes we don't stop there. Sometimes we'll do 3, 4 career paths with people. This is a really fun exercise when you dive into it and start doing the work. And the second part of the assignment asks you to actually reach out to a person who works in that field or that career, make connections, do a little bit of networking, get to know a little bit more about that field, ask some questions, see if it's something that you're still interested in doing. And you can do that with as many of those jobs or careers that you selected as you would like. And this lays out a path for doing that. Who's the person? How do you plan to reach out to them? When do you plan to do it? Because, you know, if you write it down, it becomes a little bit more intentional and people are more likely to follow through. And then if they give you suggestions of anyone else that you can talk to or shadow in the future, you can put that information here as well. You've got that for 2 different opportunities. And if you have a job shadow opportunity come up, there's a way to record that information here as well. And the extra credit is the actual job shadow itself, which I'm sure you're no stranger to doing job shadows, but it talks you through a little bit more about how to go about doing that. It gives you a list of questions that you can ask someone when you're doing it. What do you do in a typical day? How did you get started in this? What do you like best about your job or career? So as you can see, it really takes the content and it forces it in the real world, working with people to actually get some real information about them, about their interests, about their skills, about their goals. And this is a theme throughout all 6 of the courses.
Taylor, there was a quick question. So students can type in those boxes even though it's in PDF format?
Yep. I can pull that up for demonstration too. Of course, now it's not opening in PDF. Let me pull it out of my download section. So it downloads to your computer because you can't always edit it on the viewer that you have with your website or with.
And while you're doing that, just as a reminder to South Dakota staff that if they're interested in doing a job shadow, you can either do it yourself or get them hooked up with Department of Labor, and then they can earn that incentive through Department of Labor to complete job shadows.
That's a cool opportunity there. So we have created all of these PDFs so that you can type into it. And then you can save it once you're done with it. And then you have that. You can save it either on the Moodle site, or we oftentimes have people create a Gmail account and a Google Drive account to do a lot of this work as well, because often we'll move into helping people actually find work from that point. And all of the PDFs are like that, so you can type in them where there's check boxes that you can use to go through some of the content as well. So that was kind of a nice overview of course 1. For those who weren't on the first call as well, just do a brief rundown of all 6 of the courses and the content that's in them. So course 1 is exploring a career. That's pretty self-explanatory. It has the students walk through kind of a self-discovery process or a guided discovery process to see what jobs and careers they might be interested in. Course 2 is filling out the paperwork that covers things like resumes, cover letters, job applications. Course 3 is starting your job search that puts a lot of structure around, you know, how do I find a website to look on, or who do I contact in order to learn more about a job. Course 4 is all about interviewing. That does some different exercises and activities. One of the activities in there is doing practice interviews with people. There's videos modeling what a positive interview experience looks like. Course 5, evaluating and accepting a job offer. That has you look at the important things in that job offer. You know, can I get to it with transportation? Does it pay what I need? Does it have the benefits that I want? Are there things about it that I like? Are there things that I don't like? Can I overcome the things in that job that I don't like? Then course 6 is all about retention, keeping a job. So that works everything from onboarding, starting your first day, where to go, who to talk to, how to be prepared, what clothes to wear, to review the company handbook. It talks a little bit about the unwritten rules of a job, some of those more soft skills and social skills and workplace culture sorts of things. There's also a section on doing performance reviews, asking for a raise, and then it also talks about how to leave a job, either for another job or because you just no longer like that job. Each of these courses, content-wise, you're looking at approximately 1.5 hours to 2 hours if you were to just sit and go through all of it from start to finish. So we say it's, 10 to 12 hours worth of pure content, but as you see with some of those activities, you can really spend hours on each of those activities if you wanted to. You can certainly breeze through them if someone wasn't into it, or skip past the ones that don't always make sense for people. But we say that it's between 20 and 40 hours, with 40 hours being a good estimate to work through all 6 courses with people. And for some people, working through all 6 courses is the right way to go. For others, maybe they just want to work on interview skills, or maybe they just don't know how to do resumes and cover letters, and you can pick and choose and say, okay, we're going to work through course 4 with you to do interview skills, or we're going to work on course 2 here, filling out the paperwork to learn more about what that process looks like. That's
So
kind of
Taylor, I have a quick question on that before you go on. So you mentioned earlier that you can't jump around if you're in the student's thing. You can't skip things, but the student can choose, instead of starting with course 1, they can go to course 5 if they wanted to do that, and that's not a problem. They just can't skip it around once they're in the course. Is that accurate?
Correct. That is
Okay.
accurate. Each one of these courses is separate from the other in that regard. It's all pulled together in the same grading area, and it's partially intended to be gone through in this format, but there's nothing stopping someone from just starting at course 4. One final piece that I'll show you here. Actually, let's do it for course 1 since that's where we were. Let's just take a look at what an assessment looks like. We're going to do the pre-assessment and the post-assessment have the same questions. This is at last chance for audience participation. I need someone to volunteer to help me through these. Any brave takers? Cindy, I can see you on my screen. What do you think? Nope, that's a no-go. All right, Katie, I might need to call you in on this.
How about D for question 1?
People don't love talking
Did
in
you
front
hear
of
me?
30 people.
Do you hear me, Taylor?
Oh, D for question 1. There we go. What is a job?
This is Cindy Hansen. I would say C.
Thank you, Cindy. Question 3. You can take an online assessment to help you learn which jobs or careers might be good for you.
True.
Thank you. Social skills help you to do what?
B.
B. You can improve work-related skills or learn new ones by taking classes or taking on new responsibilities at work.
True.
Put a true in there. Transferable skills are skills that you can use in other areas of life, including your work.
True.
In researching careers, you should.
B.
B.
B, thank you. Basic skills that most workers need are.
A.
Nobody wants to go with fishing skills on that one. The needs you personally have in a job are called job requirements.
I'd say false.
We got a false in there. Which of the following are job requirements?
Probably A. Even though I'd probably choose D, but A is probably more appropriate.
All right, so then it gives you an opportunity to
Ellen,
review, make sure you answered all the questions, and then you submit. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. And then it goes through each question and gives you correct or incorrect feedback based on what you answered. So it looks like here we got one question wrong. 9 out of 10, that's pretty good. It's almost like y'all do this for a living. And let's see, all right, number 9. It disagreed with your answer there. No job is perfect, so it helps to know what you need from a job so you can decide if it will work for you. Your needs or job requirements are a thing that a job absolutely has to have in order to work for you. And that's specific information that's covered in the course. So likely if you get it wrong on the front end, hopefully you'll get it right on the back end because it's discussed within the course.
And I did that on purpose so people could see what it would look like if it was wrong.
Nice work. We needed to get something.
You're
right.
welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Katie.
So that is my brief introduction to eTrac. Not so brief, going on an hour here, but that gives you a nice view of, sort of the outline of the course, how the structure works, how the content works, some of the different pieces that are associated with it. And a lot of it's on each individual person to take it and adapt it to the programs that you're using it in or to the people that you're serving and what their needs are. There's a lot of opportunity for customization, for picking up bits and pieces. As I've said, we offer it individually, we offer it in groups. We do it a lot this way over Zoom. And we do it a couple of different ways when we're doing it over Zoom. Sometimes we'll have it like we're doing it now, where I will be doing it with a group or with a student, and I'll be facilitating it and getting their information for the reactions. But something else that you can do with someone who has access to like a computer, or even we've done this on a phone, that person can log into eTrac on their device and share their screen with you, so they're in the driver's seat and you're sort of there with them side by side, working through the content, pausing at points to facilitate discussion, to ask questions, taking notes as you go through the process. So it works both ways. And if ever the opportunity arises to do it in person, again, we do it in a classroom style setting. We use groups of 4 to 5 people with a smart board or some sort of interactive touch screen, which we're lucky enough to have, so people can walk up to the screen and make selections and interact with the content directly there. And it can be done individually, just one-on-one in meetings, sharing the screen with people as you go through it. Questions, comments? Thank you all for your participation in the group participation process.
Thanks, Taylor. Well, we're waiting for questions. I just kind of want to go over. I sent out those the instructions again this morning for counselors. If you want, you will need to get an account for yourselves before you start signing up students. So send me an email if you want an account, and I will get that information to Taylor, and then I'll make a payment for counselors to get access. And then the instructions show you how to do the authorization and kind of walks you through how to send that information to Taylor. I put the eTrac the Excel spreadsheet that Taylor gave us, I put that in the DRS presentations to share folder. So make a copy of that and put it on your desktop, and then that's what you'll send to Taylor to set up your students. Each student will need their own email address. So if they don't have one, you can help them set up a professional one for their job search. That's a good practice to be doing with students anyway. And if you have any other questions on it, you can contact me. Taylor is available. So yeah, just send me those emails and we'll get you guys accounts set up.
That's awesome. Thank you, Katie. And one other thing I will add, in a perfect world, I would say spend the 12 to 15 hours going through the content from start to finish, but realistically, we work for governments and nonprofits, and we have more things to do than we ever have time to do it with. So that facilitator's guide, that 30 or so page document, it's not just a wall of text. It's got pictures, it's got information in there, but it's a really good way to get started with someone. And if you're working with a student and you know that you want to work on like interview skills, all you have to do is maybe stay a couple of modules ahead of them to be able to know what to do with them next. So if you're working with someone tomorrow, spend 30 minutes going through the content to see what's going to be presented, and then maybe just run through a game plan of how you want to do it with that student. It's something that you can really learn and work with people on the fly. You can learn along with them basically as you go. That's just my 2 cents on how to best offer it to people when we have limited time and resources, as I know we all do. I'm going to drop my email here in the chat, and I'm sure Katie will share it with you. And when everyone gets set up for an account, my email information's in there as well. I'm happy to answer questions. I'm happy to work with people individually to dive into some of the content a little bit more and show you how we use some of it in our programs. Just really excited for the opportunity to work with all of you.
Yes, thank you, Taylor. We're excited to get going on this.
Awesome. Oh, we got a question.
So there's a question, I may have missed this, but is the facilitator's guide something that can be emailed out or that we get when we get a user ID?
You know, I can share that information with you, Katie, when we get off this call. And yes, also when you sign up for an account, what you'll get is an automated email from the system that tells you, here's your username, here's your password, here's a link to access the account. And then we follow up with an email that we send that's got some welcome information. It'll have the facilitator's guide attached to it. It will have the spreadsheet that we use for enrolling people when you want to sign people up. And then it will have the document, the tips for navigating eTrac that talks about some of the different parts of the course. But I can send all of that information to Katie after this, and she can share that all with you so you have a head start on it if you would like as well. Good question.
And the counselors' accounts will be good for 1 year. And then once we get close to the end of the 1 year, then we can renew it at that time.
That is correct. Awesome. Any other questions for me today?
Katie, if we already had an account when we were doing the demo, do we need a new one?
Yep, that's just a demo account. So yeah, shoot me an email and so I can get you added to the new list.
And if we're gonna do groups, do we have to have the service for each student participating as a group in the plan? Okay.
Yep, I would give them each one. That way they have their own account. And if they wanted to do some further exploring in the program on their own outside of your group, then they're able to do that. So yeah, sign it up for each kid.
And one thing too, if you're working with a group and you're doing a lot of the facilitating yourself, the students will still have access to all of the assignments and all of the resources on their own as well. In that My Resources section, you don't necessarily have to navigate through 30 slides of content to find it. You can just point them to that and say, you know, this is in course 4. It's the doing your own discovery process assignment, and they can go into their own account, go to My Resources, download that, and work from there.
And this can also be used for our adult clients. I know that we're talking more about the transition students, but because of how we have it set up in Faces, you can also create accounts for your adult clients if you would, if you feel that one of the adult clients could benefit from this too. This isn't just for transition students. So
yeah, our main focus as an organization is serving adults, and that's where this got its start, and that's what we've used it the most. We've been working more towards students recently with more of the work that we're doing with pre-ed services, but we also do use it with adults as well.
mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're at 3 o'clock. Thank you all so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'll be available for any questions that you have. And Katie, I'll share that information with you, those 3 documents, when we get off here.
Great. Thanks, Taylor. Appreciate your help.
Yeah. Bye, everyone. Nice to meet you.